Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to do something different. We're not working on that. We're working on that. The Mustang needs some love. It's been neglected. It's been feeling it too. But the Nightmare Mustang struck again with a new nightmare. Not really. It's going to be easy. Maybe. Brake master cylinder. That thing right down there. I believe that's given me a little bit of a problem. Last few times I've been driving it, when I'm sitting at the stoplight with my foot on the brake, it just really slowly creeps down. That's not a good feeling. You got to pump it again, and then you get a good brake, and then it just very slowly creeps down. That's usually a sign the master cylinder is leaking. In this case, you can see it's a hydro boost. It's got this system back here and the hoses that run down to the power steering pump. So you won't see it leaking into your firewall or into your passenger compartment like you will if it's directly bolted to the firewall. Or if you have a vacuum booster there, it leaks into the vacuum booster and ruins that. So I want to get it before it starts leaking into my hydro boost system and ruins that. So we're going to take it off. And I do have a new one on the bench. Let's go take a look. You guys get a tour through my messy garage. We are planning on moving it sometime, possibly this year. So things are getting all shuffled around. But we got the new master cylinder set up on the vise because I was going to bench bleed it. But I wanted to let you know that if you have this style with these bleeders out here, you don't have to bench bleed it. You can stick it on and try to get the air out through these, but it just makes it easier. So I've stuck some fittings onto the master cylinder, run the hoses up into the top, zip tied them together. They don't stick way down, so I'm going to fill it up with the fluid and make sure the fluid level stays above the hoses so they don't suck air back in. And then I'm going to pump this master cylinder right there. So let me get set up and we'll get it rolling. Now this master cylinder is actually for a 1996 Mustang GT. And I would say Cobra, because that one that's in the car actually did come off the Cobra. But for some reason, I think that was an aftermarket ad that somebody put on there, because the fittings on a Cobra should have both been the same size on the bottom, the brake line fittings, and they're different. So this is the one off a GT, not the Cobra, in order to have matching fittings to the one that's already on the car. And there's definitely the fluid settling a little bit. So it's going into its chambers in the master cylinder. Bleeders are semi-tight. But now I'll just stick the screwdriver in the plunger there and probably hold these on. I'm not sure how much it's going to try to push those out. It's a 1-inch bore in the master cylinder. You should match your bore to your caliper size. And the calipers on that car came from a 2015, the rear calipers, or the front calipers, excuse me, came from the 2015 Mustang GT. So the discs are 14-inch discs. Good sized calipers on them. And it stops really well with the 96 master cylinder. And the reason I went with the 96 master cylinder is because that's what all the Hydro Boost system came off of, was a 96. So the Hydro Boost system, the master cylinder, it's all 96. Front disc brakes are 2015, and the rear is an independent rear suspension, and that has, from 2001, the very first year of it, and that has discs on it as well. But in most master cylinders, usually the front plunger is for the rear brakes, and the rear compartment is for the front brakes. I don't know why that is, but if you look at most of them, they have on the caps, the old ones with the metal caps, the small chamber up front is for the back brakes, and the big chamber in the rear is for the front brakes. And that's the way I've got that master cylinder set up. Looking at this one when I was just pumping air, I noticed that the fluid was moving first in the forward cylinder, which surprises me because the fluid should move first in the line that's going to your front brakes. So I'm just a little concerned now that I may have it backwards all this time on the car. It stops though, and it doesn't, the rear brakes are not locking up ahead of time. So I'm going to hold these out of the fluid and give it a pump and see which one actually pushes first. They're both moving equal. I think it was just air in the line that gave me that idea. They're both moving fluid about the same. All right, I'm done with the bench bleeding. I even bled the ports on the side just to make sure. We're going to take it over there like this, and I won't undo the bottom bleeders, or the ones I used to bleed the master cylinder, until I'm ready to stick it on the car. Then I'll undo them and I'll put it on the car in a fairly quick manner. Because the lines on the car are coming straight up, when I undo them, no air is going to be introduced. Air won't go down through the fluid. Of course, it rises to the top. So those will be good. And when I undo these, the fluid is going to try to push its way out those ports. So if I'm careful, there'll be just no air, or maybe just real minimal air, and we'll let it sit for a little bit, and that air will rise up to here, and we'll be able to bleed it out if there is any. So we're going to get started on pulling it out of that car. That's next. Well, this is going to prove to be fun. The top bolt should be all right. There's two bolts holding this master cylinder on to the Hydro Boost system, and one of them is up, and it's going to be just a little bit of a swing. Maybe I can get it with this. Let's find out. And then the other one is underneath, so I'm going to have to come up from underneath. Not too sure how that'll work out with things in the way like that. All right, well, we know that isn't going to work right there. Wow. All right, open then. That will work, at least to get it started. Once we get them started, hopefully they'll come off pretty easily. They've been on here about 10 years, maybe a little more. Hasn't seen a whole lot of miles. No long trips. I mean, Walla Walla, Yakima, that sort of thing. Kind of gives you an idea of where we are. Neighboring towns. There we go. That should be loose enough that I can get it out by my fingers. Okay, we're going to get it loosened up, but I'm going to leave it on there and try to get that bottom one loose. We'll try the socket again first. I can get in there to it. Oh, I'm going to stick my head right in your way. All right, that's really tight. Let's try the wrench. Lost one of my lights. Can't see nothing. I got it in there though. push. Come on, everybody. Boy, when that moves, it's gonna crunch my fingers like you wouldn't believe. I need a pry tool or something I can get under there. Can you see that under there? Right down there. Put that wrench there. That wrench is right against my steering knuckle. And that is hard to turn. It would help if I was pushing it the right direction too. That'll make a difference. I'm gonna get the dipstick out of the way. It's a 427, by the way, 427 side oiler. It's got had dual carbs. Now it's got dual throttle body fuel injection on it. Snipers, by the way. They work really good compared to that Aces garbage on that other truck. I mean, that Aces will work well eventually. The hardware's not bad. It's the software that is just wrong. All right, let's get under here. Turn the wrench around so I'm ratcheting the right direction. Oh, there we go. It's moving, yay! Hurrah! All right, yeah. You know, one of the cool things about a Hydro Boost system is one, you don't need to have great vacuum in your motor, which that one over there doesn't. This has got pretty good vacuum here. Even though it's got a big old bump stick cam in it, it actually idles with about 14 inches of vacuum. So that's really good. But the cool thing about Hydro Boost is that this little thing back here, and you'll see it when I pull this off, can be mounted any orientation that you need it to be mounted in. It doesn't have to be in a certain way, facing up this way or that way. Just any orientation you can get it in there. And that makes it pretty nice for clearance, like just because you can see clearance is at a premium here. Okay, now before I get that last one loose, I'm gonna bust these loose here. And I think we got a 12 and a 13 there, I think. Or maybe a 13 and a 14 or something, I don't know. There's a 12 for sure. And this right here, this is a proportioning valve. This is so that my rear brakes don't lock up before my front brakes and I end up facing the wrong direction. So that's what that's about. And then I'll back it off. I'll go out and I'll hit my brakes a little bit. Not really hard, just a little bit. After the master cylinder's on there. And if the back brakes lock up before the front, I'll back it off. And I'll just keep doing that until the front brakes just lock up before the rear. Just barely. All right, that one's bigger. Not quite that big. Wow, that was tight. My knuckle sounded good smacking off of there, didn't it? All right, I don't like dripping brake fluid on stuff. So let's get some rags under there. And here we go, let's get those off. You know, I've had this car since about 1981 or 2. So it's been around a while. It originally started out as a 390 car. 390 automatic. The guy I bought it from liked the motor and the transmission, wanted to keep those, so I just bought a shell. I already had this engine. I bought it in my last year of high school. That's about the only time you'd be able to get one of these. Way back when. And it's been rebuilt multiple times. Many, many times. Not for any particular reason, except I was a little hard on it. I never spun bearings. I did change compression ratio. It had TRW domed 12.5-to-1 compression pistons in it. And I raced it that way for years, drag race. at the local track. Did really, really well. Raced a little bit at the NHRA stuff. Division, what is it, Division 7 here? I've been so long out of it, I don't even know what division we're in anymore. Then I had some cylinder wear problems. Really don't know really what caused them. I don't know if it was an oiling issue or somehow contaminant got in there. It already had a 30,000 overbore, and I was gonna go 40, but cylinder wells are too thin. So not wanting to get rid of a side oiler block, I went ahead and put sleeves in it. And that didn't go quite as planned either. Because, now, I'm not saying there was anything wrong with the machine shop. They pressed the sleeves in and heated the block and cooled the sleeves and supposedly put a ridge at the bottom so the sleeves wouldn't sink. But the sleeves sunk in the bores. And after about the first, just a few miles. And that caused the head gaskets to fail, which meant I had the block milled down to where the cylinders had sunk to. All right, here you can see the hydro boost mechanism, and the lines are pointed straight up. They both got fluid right to the top of them, so we're good there. I'll bring over the new one, and right over here, over my bucket over there, I'll undo the lines, the bleeder lines. I'll throw it on here and get these hooked up, and we should be good to go. All right, I got this over here. I'm going to take off these lines here over my bucket, and then I'll bring it over and slam her home, I hope. All right, let's see if we can get them hooked up to start with. Minimize our drippage as much as possible, and then get those tightened back up. Still see that one is dripping good. That one's in there. I'm going to go ahead and get the master cylinder bolted down to the hydro boost now, and that way it'll hold it snug while I tighten up those lines. Let's get that on there. All right, I think we're here. All right, let's make sure these are tight now that that's held in place good. That's one thing about swiping parts from new cars to put into old cars. They're metric. But that is in there. I'm actually going to hook a little rubber hose up to these and crack them just to see if I got any air in there. I shouldn't have to really pump the pedal. It should just rise right up. Maybe. I might have to go get my wife to give a little step on the pedal. But yeah, I'm going to get it set up for that. I'll be right back. All right, I've got a piece of rubber hose. It should fit right over that bleeder. There we go. All right, we'll put it back in here. Got my lovely wife inside the car. She's going to be my assistant. Okay, if you could step down and hold, please. Okay, go ahead and go back up. And down and hold. Now, this is what we were looking for right here. These air bubbles right here coming out of the bleeder. So we're good there. Okay, go up. And then down and hold. And up. Down and hold. And up. Down and hold. We're almost there. Up. Down and hold. Up. Down and hold. All right, that appears to be good in this one. Now we're going to move to the next port back once I drain the tube here. Okay, down and hold. Up. Down and hold. That's got very little air in it. Up and hold, or up. Down and hold. Oh yeah, that's not getting any more air. We're good. All right, that was all the air in the master cylinder is out. We are good to go. Thank you much, babe. All right, we'll put a little more fluid in that, and then it's time for a test drive. All right, I'm going to continue wiping this up, putting away all the tools. A test drive is in order. I don't know if it'll be done tonight. I hear dinner time is fast approaching. So if I don't get it done tonight, we'll do it tomorrow. Well, good morning, everybody. We're about ready to take the Mustang out and make sure those brakes work. But it is very cold out here. It's about 35 in the garage right now. And I wanted to just show you the Mustang a little bit because I don't know if I've introduced it to everybody. I did ramble a little bit when I was working on it, but this is my 1967 Ford Mustang. I modified it a little bit. Put the chin spoiler on it, which I like. It's got the longer hood and the longer front bezels here, or eyebrows, I guess you could call them. And I've made it look a little bit more like a Shelby. It does have a GT500 hood. These louvers do work. They extract heat really well. Helps to keep it cool. The mirrors actually have blinkers built in. Let's see if you can see them. See the white dots along the edge? Those are LEDs. The scoop right here, this one, it is metal. I'm not good at metal forming, but I did that over my leg and welded it on, and the two sides are both metal. They're not identical, but they're close enough. The top scoop here, this one is not metal, of course. Oh, there, lost my light. It's fiberglass, but I've molded it into the body. And I actually took off a lot of material along it to push it back in tighter on the body. I didn't like how far out it stuck. Okay, we got the rear end here. It's pretty much your, kind of looks like your stock until we get down here. And pipes right there. And these are, I guess you'd call them splitters. I don't know, in the back. What do you call them? But they straighten out the airflow as it comes through the back of the car. I was getting a lot of exhaust deposits up here from the curl that would come around here, and the pipes not being really far out. But this has eliminated that. So I don't know much about airflow. I certainly don't have any way to test it. But I do know that I get less exhaust residue buildup back here now that I've done that. And that's actually a belly pan that goes all the way up to the rear end, which I should probably show you, I guess. Let's see if we can look under here. Oh, do you see that? That's an independent rear suspension. It does have coilover shocks on it. I'll see if I can get you a little better view. There we go. That's the base of the coilover you see right there. So that is out of a 2001 Cobra, the first year of production of that IRS rear end. Now they've since discontinued it and then restarted it and all sorts of things. But in my car, anyway, I stole it out of a 2001 Cobra. It was actually a swap with another guy who needed a live or a solid axle rear end. So we made the exchange. He actually sent it from Texas, of all places. So that was a long way to go. The car is what you would call a retro mod, I guess, because everything works off of a remote. The trunk works off the remote. And if I slam it, it latches. There we go. And the door locks are remote. It has power windows, power door locks. Find what I do with my keys again. Inside, we've gone with a lot of electronics. We turn the key, we see the dash all come to life, and the sniper dash down here. Oops. And the stereo is on loud. It's got to be loud. The car is loud when it's running. The steering wheel is a tilt wheel. I should have probably showed you under the hood. I mean, you saw it while I was working on things, but I don't know how good we looked at it. So let's get the hood up. Okay, here we go. This is a 427 side oiler, very old block. The headers on it are originally for the Galaxies that came with the 427 that they drag raced. They're big tubes. They're 2-inch tubes. Well, big for a Ford. 2-inch tubes to 3.5-inch primary or collectors. And these heads are 427 heads as well. They're actually have a higher exhaust port than stock. I didn't realize that until I tried to put some hooker headers on them, and the ports were lower. So that required a change. These are actually, these were made way back in the day. They're Cyclones, which I don't think they're around anymore. But it has dual sniper throttle bodies on it. You see those? And maybe you notice nitrous solenoids. There's a little shot of nitrous. It's not big. Hydro boost brakes, which is what we changed out, so we're going to go test the brakes. It's got a very large power steering reservoir right here, and the reason for that is because the power steering fluid does not only work for the rack and pinion steering, which has been installed in this, but it also runs the brakes. So it can get very hot, and we do have a little cooler in front of the radiator, but it's not a very big one, so I wanted a lot of fluid volume. Also, if you've noticed when you look down there, that's not a typical Mustang crossarm. And that's because way long ago I went to a Mustang 2 style of suspension. Actually, I used Mustang 2 suspension under it for a while, right out of a 78 Mustang 2. And then eventually I was able to afford to grab some of the tubular control arms. So I'm gonna stick the hood down, pin it, and we'll take her for a run. We're in the Nightmare. Let's get her fired up. All right, fuel looks good. It's going about half tank. Idling about 60 psi of pressure. Cold. No temperature yet. Fuel pressure's over there, 60 pounds. That's my vacuum at idle, and it's cold right now, and we're running about 12. So then you can see the sniper doing its thing over there. See if we can get out of here. Door closed, steering wheel down where it needs to be. You can tell I'm just holding you right now, but I'm going to mount you and then we'll get going. All right, we're out here on one of our local streets. We're just going to reach the speed limit. Well, we lost a little traction there trying to come up to the speed limit, but we got from about 5 to 50 in just 1 or 2 seconds. It's a fairly quick car. I don't have the nitrous on. I don't use it on the street. There's no reason for it. The steering is very good. It's very quick. I do have the suspension set pretty tight. It corners really well. It runs really good. The snipers work awesome. I've done a little fiddling with them, but hardly any. And it just runs. It runs hard. It is controlling timing and all of that, which is great. And it's not terribly loud inside. I do have I have a set of resonators, and then right after the X in the X pipe, and then the mufflers, which are thrush chambered mufflers. But it runs really well and it handles really well. And it's not an uncomfortable car to drive. So it's done pretty good. I'm going to turn around up here and head back. But I just wanted to get you guys out on it and let you see it and feel it, and build yourself a car sometime like this. This has been a labor of love. I've had this car since 81 or 82, and it is grown every year just a little bit. It didn't happen all at once. There's no doubt. All right, let's get slowed down here. It's about 10 miles an hour or so. And we just break them loose as soon as you... I'm not even going down halfway. Probably halfway. That would probably be correct. Halfway on the throttle. Breaks them loose. It does have a limited slip posi rear-ended back. So both tires bite right away. It's very tight. And it works really well. So we're going to take a left hand here. And you can take them really flat. I did check out the brakes. Hammered them really hard. You can't see it, but there's skid marks back there. All 4 wheels locked up almost at the exact same time. Perfectly straight. So our brakes work awesome, and that's the real reason we came out here to drive this and find out. So get out there and work on your stuff, guys. Have some fun with it and be good to each other. See you later.